to important words, we're going to look at them just a little bit. All right? We'll get the magnifying glass out and look at them. We are in the 1 Samuel, the 17th chapter. Now, we've studied the first 5 books, and then Joshua, and of course, and Judges. And now we're in 1 and 2 Samuel, 1 and 2 Kings, and 1 and 2 Chronicles also. They're all running together. They just kind of run together. So that's where we are. And we've got David just about to beat up the giant, which is good. And let's look at the giant for again. Just look at him. The word in Greek for this guy's name is what? Remember what it was? Gigantes, which we get gigantic from that word. All right. What is the Hebrew word for these big guys? Nephilim. Nephilim. All right. Nephilim means what? Fallen ones. All right. Fallen ones. Anyway, they were big. Whatever they are.
It's a period of giants too, right?
What?
It's a period of giants too, right?
Say again.
It's a period of giants.
Well, there was giants before the flood and giants after the flood. And of course, right now we're talking about after the flood. Back over here, before the flood, there were Nephilim. Genesis the 6th chapter, of course. And then it said they were on the earth then and afterward. So now we've got a bunch of more of them. And these are, where did the giants, when Israel came in the land, where did the giants, what part of the area did they inhabit?
Philistines.
They
were Philistines.
Mike?
Canaan.
Where?
Canaan.
Well, Canaan, yeah. But what area? Remember Caleb went in there and into this area. He wanted to beat up the giants. He was 80 years old, but he wanted him a giant to beat up. All right. Where were they? Remember, I have been there. It's really wonderful. You can't go over there today.
Jericho?
Because, what?
Jericho?
No, it's not Jericho.
Gaza Strip.
What? No. Where Abraham was buried. The cave of Machpelah. All right? The cave of Machpelah. Right in that area. Okay, the cave of Machpelah. That's where it was. Okay, right in this area. This is up on a mountain. That's where these giants all came from, in that area. Okay? So, but you can't go down there today, but that was, as far, how many of you have been to the Middle East? I was there in 75, 70, yeah. Sister Andina, what was the most fantastic thing happened to you? What really shook you up when you went there?
When
the most impression?
When I was into the place where Jesus was buried, and I went inside, and I said something like, it sounded like wrong, but I said, he's not here.
No.
The place is empty.
Yeah. Well, I looked at Calvary. That was a great effect on me. And there at the what we call Gordon's Calvary, and the cave. But one place that just, when I went down to Hebron, and we went to the cave of Machpelah, which you can't go there now. There's too much fighting going on. It's too dangerous. It was too dangerous then. But we were on an archaeological tour, so you get to go stick your neck out a little further on that. All right? You get 4 units of credit in college for this, see, so you might die for it. All right? But anyway, we went over there, and we went down to the cave of Machpelah, and when I walked on that place, there's where Abraham, Isaac, Sarah, all these people are buried in that cave. And there's a big building up there, a mosque, and inside of that building, right above their graves. Now, the graves are underground in these caves. But right above that, there's great big, caskets, golden caskets. Here's where Abraham is buried. Here's where Isaac is buried. Here's Jacob buried over here. And Sarah is buried over here. All of these patriarchs are buried below where these golden caskets are. Now, you walk into some place like that, that's 4,000 years old. They've been, you go back in the book of Genesis, early in the book of Genesis, when he bought that land. But then later on, while Israel was down into Egypt, the giants took over the place. Now that is the oldest certified piece of real estate that has a title to it in the world. Did you know that? There it is in the book of Genesis, where Abraham bought that land to marry Sarah. All right. Well, the giants took it over, and here's one of the descendants of these people. All right. Now, how tall was he? We want to get this down right.
9'4".
9 foot 4 inches tall. Okay. Now we don't know how much he weighed. I've known a lot of people 6'8", 6'10". How much does a person 6'8", 6'10", in pretty good shape usually weigh?
About 320.
Huh?
About 320.
320 to 320 slim. Build up.
Well,
400
Shaquille O'Neal
pounds.
is 7'1", and he's 350.
Okay, 350 pounds. Now this guy is 9 foot 4 inches. How much do you think he weighed?
Probably like 400 and something.
All right. How much did his helmet weigh?
150 pounds.
141 pounds is what his helmet weighed.
Should have couldn't even lift that up.
141 pounds. How much did the spearhead weigh? The spearhead? Huh? 17 pounds just for the spear point. Now you take something and 17 pounds, something that you can throw it through somebody. It'll just keep on going. Now this guy was a dangerous man, and he was a killer of men. That's what he was. A killer of men.
Could they even make a shot put that heavy, Jim? I think 15 pounds is maximum.
Well,
No, 16 is Olympics.
16, I took one and threw one time like a ball. I came down from Nevada, a little hick out there in the middle, and of course I'd been out bucking hay by myself and everything else, and go out there and break their bats playing baseball. And everything. I was strong when I was young. And I had never been in what do you call that track at all. I never had seen that. And they had this steel ball, and they said, throw this ball over that way. So I backed off and I threw that thing and went past all the records. And they said, you can't do that. You have to go like this. And I said, well, that didn't work very well. Anyway, 17 pounds spearhead, 141 pound helmet, and the mail that went around that, the armor that went around the helmet. Now all these people were afraid. 17 and 1. Now let's get on down here. Go down to about verse 20, and let's get on flying along in here. Remember David, beloved. Now, this is something else I've got to remind you. According to the book of Genesis, Israel was going to have a king, wasn't she? Israel was destined to have a king. But Israel got in a hurry, and they wanted a king to lead them out into war like what? Like all the rest of the nations. And Samuel was all excited, and he was upset with it and everything. He said, they haven't rejected you, Samuel. They have rejected me. I'm going to give them a king. And his name was Saul. And Saul was on the battlefield, but Saul wasn't going out there and fighting this guy. And Saul was a tall man too. But he wasn't 9'4". Saul might have been 6'8" or something, but he wasn't 9'4", and evidently he didn't want to take up the challenge. He was the king of Israel, all right? But God said that there would be a king, and he prophesied, Jacob prophesied in the book of Genesis, that there would be a king on the throne of Israel, and that it was to be a seed of the woman in the garden. Genesis 3:15. And through that seed, David would be the king of Israel, but through his seed would the Messiah come. God would become flesh. John 1:14. What's the name Jehovah mean? He who shall become. God promised that he would become flesh to redeem us to himself. He wasn't going to send somebody else. He was going to come. And this Messiah, King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Adonai Ha'adanim. All right, Adonai means what? King of Kings and Lord of Lords. But Adonai, Jehovah, Adonai Ha'adanim. That is a title in the Old Testament, okay, of the Messiah, King. All right? And David was not ready. He was a young man. Now here he's just a young man, but this king that Israel picked out, Saul means asked for. Okay? The one that Israel picked out wouldn't do the job. So the boy king that's going to be king, now you remember, he was going to be anointed, wasn't he? Or he was anointed already as to be king. Samuel already anointed him and everything. Now he comes on the scene as a boy right out of the shepherd fields. Okay? Let's look at this. David rose early in the morning, verse 20, and left the flock with the keeper and took the supplies and went as Jesse had commanded him. Who's Jesse?
David's father.
All right. Now Jesse is going to be the great-grandfather, many times over, of the Messiah king. All right? And Jesus is going to be that Messiah king in the New Testament. Revelation, the 5th chapter, Revelation, the 7th chapter. In the later part of the book of Revelation, we see have the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, Jehovah Adonai Aha Adanim. All right? The King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And he is related to us. Now here is our king, God's king that was supposed to be on the throne, but they didn't want to wait for him. So they had a poor substitute. And Jesse had commanded him, and he came to the circle of the camp while the army was going out in battle array, and shouting the war cry. And Israel and the Philistines drew up the battle array, army against army. All right, army against army, and all they're going out there and is eyeballing each other. That's all. They're not doing anything. They're just looking at each other. Israel's afraid of them, and they're wanting to show somebody up. When Saul comes out, or whoever's going to be the champion of Israel, this hired killer, this mercenary, Goliath, and his 4 brothers or sons, there was 5 of them altogether. All right, 5 giants, not just one. This is the one, the other one's in the background, okay? Then David left his baggage in the care of the baggage keeper and ran to the battle line and entered in order to greet his brothers. And he was talking with them, behold, the champion, the Philistine, from Gath, named Goliath. All right? Goliath. You know what Goliath means? What's Goliath mean? Anybody know what that name means? Goliath? It's going to surprise you. It means witch or soothsayer. That's what it means. He was a witch or a soothsayer. He was a someone familiar with familiar spirit, demon spirits. Of course, if he was really a Nephilim, he was a fallen angel, descendant of him, wasn't he? Named Goliath, the soothsayer, the witch, was coming up from the army of the Philistines. How many of you knew that? You know what that name meant? Anybody? Brother Mike, did you look that one up someplace? By the way, I'll give you a little something to do. How many of you got Young's Analytical Concordance? Everybody's got Strong's, you know. Forget Strong's, get Young's. Young's is much better. All right? Army of the Philistines, and he spoke these same words as David heard them. And when all the men of Israel saw the man, they fled from him and were exceedingly afraid. Number 25, Brother David, are you over there?
So the men of Israel said, have you seen this man who has come up? Surely he has come up to defy Israel, and it shall be that the man who kills him, the king will enrich with great riches, will give him his daughter, and give his father's house exemption from taxes in Israel.
All right, now what's going to happen here is that whoever goes out and slays this rascal is going to be an heir to the throne. Because if you marry into the king's line, you're also royalty, aren't you? Simple as that. And you won't have to pay any taxes. You don't have to pay any taxes because you're family. All right, isn't that nice? You know, it's kind of like what's going on today around here, isn't it? All right, number 26. Brother Norm, are you over there? 26.
Yeah. David asked the men standing near him, what will be done for the man who kills this Philistine and removes this disgrace from Israel? Who is this uncircumcised Philistine that he should defy the armies of the living God?
All right, the living God. Look at that, living God. Defy the armies of the living God. Now, David's more worried about not the reward here, but the disgrace that this man is putting on. And their king, the one they asked for, is not doing the job. Sister Andine, are you on number 27?
No, I'm.
Oh, okay. I can't remember. Young man, are you over there? What's your name again?
Darren,
Darren. Yeah, Darren.
27.
27.
And the people answered him in the same way, so shall it be done to the man who kills him.
All right, go on with number 28 now.
Now Eliab, his eldest brother, heard when he spoke to the men, and Eliab's anger was kindled against David, and he said, Why have you come down, and with whom have you left those few sheep in the wilderness? I know your presumption and the evil of your heart, for you have come down to see the battle.
All right, now here we have this guy named Eliab. Now you that have studied Hebrew a little bit, what in the world does his name mean, Eliab? All right? I had it someplace. Well, I've lost it already. I did have a marker pen, there it is. All right? What is that?
I'm guessing Eliab.
Huh? That's the first part of it. Hell is God. And then we have another term here. That's the first and the second letters of the Hebrew alphabet. What does the first and the second letters mean? What do they mean? Abba. What are they? Aleph and Bet. Aleph, father of the house. Father, Abba. Abba, all right. So what does you think this guy's name means? Eliab.
Father God.
Father God, or God is Father. Okay, that's what his name is. All right. I'd like you to work this out on your own. See if I just tell you a little bit here, you can get it worked out. Okay. All right. On what verse are we now? Number 28, verse number, and it says, Eliab the eldest son heard when he spoke to the men, and Eliab's anger burned against David, and he said, do you think there's a little jealousy in here? Why have you come down here, with whom you left those few sheep in the wilderness? You're a sheep herder. Get out of here. Now he already knew he'd been anointed king over them. All right. He had a brother named Shammah, didn't he? Shammah. One of the other brothers was Shammah. What do you think the word Shammah means? Remember there's the word Shem in the Bible. Shammah meant monument or name or renown or fame. Shammah. All these boys, here we have Father God and we have renown, fame, all of them set aside for beloved David. Okay? I know your insolence. I know the wickedness of your, boy, this is hard words, isn't it? The wickedness in your heart, for you have come down in order to see the battle. And verse number 29. Connie, are you over there? 29.
And David said, what have I now done? Is there not a cause?
Okay, it says, I just asked you a question. Why are you mad? I just asked you a question. Why are you so upset? All I did was ask the question. That's what the whole thing means. That's all I did was ask the question. Verse number 30 now. Darlene, you over there? You want to read that?
He walked over to some of the others and asked them the same thing and received the same answer.
All right. Number 31 there, Linda.
Now when the words which David spoke were heard, they reported them to Saul, and he sent for them.
All right, here comes Saul's getting involved now. Saul's going to pass the buck. Saul's got somebody he's going to send out there for bird bait, buzzard bait. All right. Brother Rex, 32.
And David said to Saul, let no man's heart fail on account of him. Your servant will go out and fight with this Philistine.
All right. I will answer the calls, is what he said. I'm going to go answer his call. Now here he is. This is a young boy. Now he hasn't been trained in war. Here we have a mercenary killer of men. All right? Kathy, what do we have there on verse number 33? We missed you.
Then Saul said to David, you are not able to go against the Philistine to fight with him, for you are but a youth, while he has been a warrior from his youth.
He's a killer of men. Dr. John, number 34.
Hang on, let's
First Samuel 17:34. I know you'll get there in a hurry.
First Samuel
17:34.
1734. Missed it by a page.
Did you get that one in your Bible? They didn't leave it out, did they?
No, I
Okay.
34. But David said to Saul, your servant used to keep his father's sheep, and when a lion or a bear came and took a lamb out of the flock. I went out after it and struck it, and delivered the lamb from its mouth. And when it arose against me, I caught it by its beard, and struck and killed it.
All right, now he was a killer of lions. I can tell you what, this Philistine was a pretty tough man. But when you get one of those big African lions, how many of you ever had close encounters with a lion? Have you had close encounters with a lion, David?
No, I'm here.
Yeah, you're here. All right. Well, see, your name's beloved also. I remember one time, I was a lion and a bear hunter and a coon hunter, you know, in my former life, when I was still a human being, before I became decrepit and old. And I was going up Rattlesnake Grade, and they had a lion up there. It was 11 foot long, weighed over 200 pounds. This is a big lion, people. This is a big one. Had a head this broad. I got pictures of him. Big old teeth. Boy, his teeth were longer than my fingers. Those canine teeth, you know. Yeah, incisors. Boy, I mean, they were big. This is a big lion. He run right across the road from us one time, and we missed him. This time we came across and we saw him down there, and we were looking down there, and he's about to take down a calf. So we slammed on the brakes, turned the dogs loose on him, and we had one dog that was not too good. We had just tried him out. He was a great big dog. Anyway, my other pup, Sooner, that's the dog that just came out of his mother's womb, a coon hunter or a lion hunting dog. I mean, that dog put him in the woods first time, he acted like he was there all his life. Anyway, we turned him out and they ran him up there, and at that time we were going up there, and I had a 38 Colt Lightning like Billy the Kid had. I carried that all the time. And I had some real light loads in it. I only had some just pop loads. It was 38 long Colt is all it was anyway. But that's what my pistol was that night. And I had little old pop loads that I would shoot the coons and knock them out of the, and just hit them like that, and they'd jump out and run, and we'd let the dog chase them, and then we'd walk off and leave them a lot of times because we just wanted to do that. Well, not thinking at all. None of us are thinking. Here we got this giant lion, and we ran him up, and the dogs treat him on rocks. So we run up there, and we're right down below the rocks, and I pulled my gun out, and I said, oh boy. I said, Rex, all I got is piddly little loads, pop loads. What are we going to do about this situation? Well, I don't know. Shoot him in the eye. Maybe we'll blind him, you know. And he knew I could do that anyway. It is shoot him in the eye, you know, like this. And I said, all right. So we go up there, and we're right down below this area. I showed my wife where it was many times. We went down, and here we came up to the pile of rocks, and right up on the pile of rocks is this lion up there going. Have you ever heard a lion slap? You know how a bat does? You know when somebody swings a bat real hard? You know what that sounds like? That's what a lion sounds like when he's slapping the dog. And squalling and screaming and going on. I got up there, and that dog of mine didn't have enough sense. He wasn't afraid of anything, and he ran right up after that lion and run that lion off of those rocks, and that lion fell at my feet and landed on my feet. And just did a U-turn like that, just hit my feet like that and went, just bumped me. Not half knocked me down. I just happened to be where he was going to fall. And then the other dog, the dog that we tried, got after the cows. Instead of the lion. And so we had to pull the dogs off and get them back and get out of there. But anyway, I had a close encounter with that lion too. Later on we did get him. But David, when you're fooling around with a lion, now that lion, he had claws that were longer, and they were just sharp as the sharpest talons that you can possibly think. Big. His feet were this wide like that. Now I think this is about the size of an African lion, I think. Wide paws like this. Big paws. And when they hit something, they will just cut it to shreds. Okay? Now, I don't know whether Goliath would have been a match for that kind of lion or not. And even the teeth, when we were skinning this lion, this big old lion that I told you about, I pulled his tongue out like that, and on his tongue was thorns, long thorns like this on the back of they can just rip meat off the bones with those thorns. Even a cat's got those little rough places on her teeth. So that animal is totally deadly. Now David said, what did he do to this lion? Let's look at that. I attacked him. He said, I went after him, I attacked him and rescued it from its mouth. And when he rose against me, I seized him by his beard. You know, those lions have beards down here. He grabbed him by his beard. And he struck and he killed this lion. You remember when, remember that big guy, and well, I don't know whether he's big or not. Maybe it was a Danny DeVito that was Samson. But he was Samson. You know, he was the strong man of Israel. He went out, but when the Spirit of God was left him, how strong was he? Zip.
Very.
Zip. They just overpowered him like any other man. So the Spirit of God, what do you think made David so strong and so deadly?
Spirit of God.
The Spirit of God. All right? With the lion and with the bear. All right? Number 36. Number 36. Young lady, do you want to read that? You? Number 36.
Your servant has struck down both lions and bears, and this uncircumcised Philistine shall be like one of them, for he has defied the armies of the living God.
All right, since he has taunted and since he has blasphemed and ridiculed the living God. He had. Number 37. Young lady. Judy, do you want to read that? Is that all right?
The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine.
All right. The paw of the lion and the paw of the bear. How many of you have an email? Did anybody email you what that bear did to that airplane up there in Alaska? Anybody see that?
I seen that, Jim. Wasn't
You
that
saw
amazing?
that. All right. A bear can tear things up. I had a friend that I worked with one time when the Ruger came out with a Super Black Hawk that was 44 Magnum. He got one of those and he was going to go Kodiak bear hunting. And he had a scout, an international scout, and he went up there in Alaska. He lived in Alaska, and he went out there and went after this Kodiak bear with this 44 Magnum. He had some hot loads with it and everything else. He went out there, and when he came back, one of those bears had opened up his scout, and like a can opener with the steel doors. You know, those are real heavy. He just cut it open just like you did with a can opener. Now this bear, these guys flew back into the backwoods of the outback of Alaska up there, and they landed the airplane and they were going fishing. They left some bait in the airplane, and when they got back, the airplane was thrashed, and they were out in the middle of nowhere. That bear even chewed up the tires. They were flat. The whole thing was just torn to smithereens, but the radio worked, and they called in and said, bring me a couple of cases. How many cases of duct tape? 2 cases of duct tape, and they duct taped that plane back together and flew it out of there and put some new tires on it. But bears can tear things up. What I'm telling you. I have seen dogs cut in two with one swap of a bear's paw.
Duct taped it. You couldn't. You would have. When you looked at that plane, Jim will tell you, you would have never thought that plane would fly again. That bear had done such a job.
Yep. The bear paws. The Lord delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear, and he will deliver me from the hand of the Philistine. Brother Luis, this is 1 Samuel 17, verse 37. Who is that talking about in that translation? What was the word for God there?
Jehovah.
Jehovah. Jehovah, he who shall become. Now, he who shall become was in David already. The blood, the seed was there. I'm telling you, this boy was going to be the grandfather of the Messiah, that God would become in flesh. He would become one of us to redeem us. The whole book of Ruth is about our kinsman redeemer. All right? Now, Jehovah is in him, and Jehovah is protecting him. I'm going to tell you something. No one in the world, no bullets, no knife, no bombs can kill you until the Lord is ready with you. And that's the absolute truth. Man cannot do it. Number 38, Sister Kay.
And Saul clothed David with his garments and put a bronze helmet on his head, and he clothed him with armor.
Oh boy, now, this is what a man would do. This is what a person would do as a person, you know. I mean, let's put the armor on him and everything else. He clothed him. And verse number 39 there, Brother Connie.
39, and David girded his sword upon his armor, and he essayed to go, for he had not proved it. And David said unto Saul, I cannot go with these, for I have not proved them.
All right.
And David put them off of him.
All right, he took them off. I don't need these. He didn't need his sword. He didn't need anything. What did he kill the lion and the bear with? Verse number 40. There. Verse number 40. Let's look at this.
Then he took his staff in his hand and chose 5 smooth stones from the brook and put them in his shepherd's pouch. His sling was in hand, and he approached the Philistine.
All right. And Brother Floyd.
Number 41.
Uh-huh.
And the Philistines came on and drew near to David, and shield bearer in front of him.
All right, right there. Now let's look and see what kind of a situation we have here. Now David goes down there to the brook and he picks out how many stones?
5.
5. Because how many giants were there? 5. He's going to kill them all. He figures, well, I'll kill this one, I'll kill all the rest of them. Same time. He was going after them all. Period. Wasn't going to stop with Goliath, and he already knew Goliath was in the bag. That's done. That's a done deal. All right, as far as David was concerned, because Jehovah was with him. All right? And Jehovah was actually in his loins, because he would become. He who shall become. All right? Number 42. Number 42 there. Brother Mike.
When the Philistine looked and saw David, he disdained him, for he was but a youth and ruddy with a handsome appearance.
All right, he was kind of reddish complected, and he had a handsome appearance. And verse number 43, Norm, let's see what that says.
He said to David, I am a dog, that you come at me with sticks. And the Philistine cursed David by his gods.
By his gods. What does it say there, brother, that last word for gods? What does it have there?
Live by his idol.
His idols. All right, his Elohims. His idols. All right, his idols. He cursed him by his gods. All right? Now let's see what he's talking about. Now, first of all, David was a shepherd, wasn't he? And the shepherd carried 2 sticks. Didn't he? He had a staff. What did he do with the staff? Huh?
To guide and herd the sheep, right?
He whipped the dog with it. And he whipped the sheep that they got out of line. That's what he did with the stick. That was his whipping stick. It was his paddle. All right? And then he had a shepherd's hook. And what did he do with the shepherd's hook? If the dog got out of line, he whipped the dog with the stick. All right? That's why he said, am I a dog that you come after me? You going to whoop me like a dog? All right? All right, you going to whoop me like you whoop your dogs? And keep your dogs in line? And then with the shepherd's stick, with the shepherd's staff, what do you have with that?
Catch 'em.
That's the catcher. That's a catcher. How many of you ever had a chicken catcher? Brother Floyd, you had a chicken catcher when you were little? All right. Anybody have a chicken catcher? Anybody around here chicken? Oh, all right. All right. Not chicken catchers. All right. It's a.
They work good too.
Yeah, they work. Now a shepherd looks like this. Have you seen this? Have you seen this type of thing? He had a paddle or a stick, a staff that he carried, and then he had this. Now this thing, actually it's a lot closer like this. It's a lot closer, is what it looks like, because they grabbed the sheep by the back legs. They grabbed the dog by the back legs. And they beat the tar out of him with this. All right? So now, the Philistine is all excited. You're going to come out and whoop me like a sheep or a dog? You come out here with no weapons? And you're going to whoop me like a sheep or how would you knew this? Anybody know this? No? All right, this is what he's talking about, okay? This is the story, okay? All right. Which verse were we on?
44.
44. And the Philistine also said to David, come to me, and I will give your flesh to the birds of the sky and the beasts of the field. All right? Now, what's David's answer, Brother Luis?
When David said unto the Philistine, Thou art coming out to me with sword, with spear, and with javelin,
I am coming unto thee, the name of Jehovah upholds.
Jehovah Sabaoth. That's what it is, Jehovah Sabaoth. All right, Jehovah Sabaoth. I thought it would say Sabaoth in there, it didn't say that. All right, go ahead.
Elohim of the ranks of Israel, which thou hast reapproached.
All right, the Elohim of the armies of Israel, whom you have insulted. All right, number 46. Number 46, Brother Mike.
This day the Lord will deliver you up into my hands, and I will strike you down and remove your head from you. And I will give the dead bodies of the army of the Philistines this day to the birds of the sky and the wild beasts of the earth, that all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel.
All right, what's the two words for God there, Brother Luis? What's the first one? The day, this day, the who?
Jehovah.
Jehovah. And what's that word in?
Elohim.
Elohim. All right. So we have Jehovah Elohim. He is going to fight this battle. Now, everybody's got an Elohim. Did you know every nation has some kind of a God? But only Israel has Jehovah. And when Jehovah came, God became flesh and walked in the person of Jesus Christ. Israel rejected their king the second time. They rejected him to begin with, and they wanted Saul. And then God had to get rid of Saul and put David on the throne. And then when David's son, when David's seed, Jehovah in the flesh, was born, they rejected him again. And he said unto them, what? You will not see me again until you say what? Blessed and holy is he that came in the name of the Lord. Blessed and holy is he. Baruch. All right? And in the, what we call the Messianic synagogues, they would say, Baruch Hashim. Blessed is the name. That's what they call it. Blessed. Because now they realize that here the Messiah came. And he is God in flesh. They crucified the God of glory, the creator of all the earth, on a cross in Calvary. Because God loved us enough that he came down and gave himself for us. He designed this way back yonder in eternity past. How long did Jesus stand as a lamb slain? From before the foundation of the earth. All right. Verse number 47. Connie, are you over there?
And all this assembly shall know that the Lord saveth not with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands.
All right. Now, who is that Lord there, Brother Luis?
Jehovah.
Jehovah again. Jehovah is the Jehovah. The battle, we know that Jehovah does not deliver, but sword and spear, for the battle is Jehovah's. All right. Now, when Jehovah came into this world and dwelt among mankind, he was out and tempted like we're all tempted, because he was flesh. All right. You know, that's really weird. No religion in the world, every false man-made religion, has Jesus being some prophet or something, some angel or whatever. But only the God's people look upon him as the Messiah, King, and Savior, Jehovah himself, he who shall become. Verse number 48, and then it happened that the Philistine rose and came near to David, and David ran quickly toward the battle line to meet the Philistine. He wasn't running away from him, Brother John. He was running to him. And what did he do there, Brother John?
Then David put his hand in his bag, took out a stone, and he slung it and struck the Philistine in the forehead, so that the stone sank into the forehead, and he fell on his face to the earth.
All right, he knocked him down, didn't he? I think the Lord guided that stone, and the Lord put it in the right place, and he knocked him on his face. And verse number 50 there, Brother Floyd.
So David prevailed over the Philistines with a sling and with a stone. He struck the Philistine and killed him. There was no sword in the hand of David.
All right. Now, in the 22nd chapter of the book of Genesis, when Abraham was on Mount Moriah, up on what we call the Dome of the Rock, right there, in that picture right there is where Abraham was. He went up there, and they were walking up that mountain there, and his son Isaac asked him, he said, Dad, Abba, we have the fire, we have the wood, but we have no offering. And he said what?
The Lord will provide.
Jehovah Jireh. He said, Jehovah Jireh. Jehovah shall see to it. That's what he said. Jehovah shall see to it, or shall provide. And you know what? David didn't need a sword. The Lord was going to provide a sword. And guess who he's going to take the sword from? The soothsayer. The witch. Have you ever called anybody a witch? Old Goliath was a witch. That's what he was. All right, there he is. Verse number 51, Brother Mike. Jake, go ahead, Jacob. Would you like to read that? Jacob, can you read number 51? Can you?
51?
51. Yeah. You want to read that? Okay, you do it, Mike.
Then David ran and stood over the Philistine and took his sword and drew it out of its sheath and killed him and cut off his head with it. When
All right. Go ahead.
When the Philistines saw that their champion was dead, they fled.
All right. Now here we have. So they fled. There was no more champion left. And whatever happened to the other 4 big boys? They saw they were bested. Those 4 big guys saw they were bested. All right. And then the men of Israel and Judah rose and shouted and pursued the Philistines as far as the entrance of the valley and the gates of Ekron. And the slain of the Philistines lay along the way to Sha'araim, even to Gath and Ekron. Verse number 53, and the sons of Israel returned from chasing the Philistines and plundered their camps. And David took the Philistine's head and brought it to Jerusalem, and he put his weapon in his tent. Now, when Saul saw David going out against the Philistine, he said to Abner, the commander of the army, Abner, whose son is this among this young man? And Abner said, Your life, O king, I don't know. He said, I don't know. I swear, I don't know who it is. And the king said, You inquire whose son he is. And so David returned from killing the Philistine, and Abner took him and brought him before Saul, and the Philistine's head in his hand. And Saul said to him, Whose son are you, young man? And David said, I am the son of your servant Jesse the Bethlehemite. Where was Jesus born? Does this make sense? Does the story fall in place now? When you got all the marbles, when you got all the cards in your hand, you can kind of figure it out. God promised Genesis, in the book of Genesis, He promised the woman that through the seed of the woman that He would overcome Satan. And here is this boy that's going to be a type of Jehovah to come, because he's going to be the progenitor of Him. All right? Through his loins will become the Messiah. All right? And He takes him down. And where is he going to be born? Where's the Messiah going to be born? In Bethlehem. All right. Now it came about when he had finished speaking to Saul that the soul of Jonathan was knit with the soul of David, and Jonathan loved him as himself. Now here we have an unusual alliance. Something, I believe it was the Spirit of God knit these 2 boys' hearts together, that they loved each other as in the Lakota Indian people, among the Lakota. Now, when you're born in this world, Luis, do you have any brothers?
Yes.
Uh-huh. All right. Do you have any sisters?
Yes.
All right. Adelphos, Adelphae. All right. Brothers and sisters. Now, sometimes some of your brothers and sisters aren't such good guys, but you're stuck with them because that's it. But among the Indian people, they had a brother by choice. And when you chose a brother by choice, everything you had was his. This is what, in the movies, they call them blood brothers, they do all this kind of baloney, but they run much further than that among the Lakota, the brother by choice. You chose this man, and I mean to tell you what, if he was hurt in battle, you took care of him. Either way. If he got killed in battle, you took care of his wife and his children. You raised them, and you made sure that they had food to eat and they were raised right. This is the thing you did. Now this is exactly this type of thing here among Jonathan and David. We know that they made a pact, and later on in life, after Jonathan was gone, David took care of his crippled little boy. We know that. All right. Well, there's where we're going to end for today. I hope you enjoyed this lesson. And Brother Norm, thank you so much for helping us and beginning our service with a beautiful, beautiful hymn. All right. Well, Bill, are you going to come up here and do this? All right. Thank you for your attention today. I hope God's word was a blessing to you. Go ahead, Brother Bill, it's yours.
Ain't it good to be in the house of the Lord, be able to learn something, be able to share it? Prayer requests today and rescue.